Hi again. In F.F. Bruce, The Real Jesus, Chapter 6, The Son of Man. This is, of course, Christ's most common designation for himself. And interestingly and intriguingly, is not used as a designation for him by his disciples in the rest of the New Testament. What happened? F.F. Bruce helps us by talking about how this Son of Man is ambiguous. And at first, he's dealing with the idea built into the expression Son of Man of the representative man, that is, the man. When Jesus, is reported by Mark, told his disciples that the Son of Man must suffer, and went on to indicate that this was something which had been written concerning him, his disciples appear to have understood at once that he was speaking about himself. This may have been because they were accustomed to hearing him refer to himself as the Son of Man. We do not know if this self-designation conveyed any particular significance to them. Modern readers of the Gospels are familiar with the expression on Jesus' lips and rarely pause to ask why he should have referred to himself in this strangely elusive way. On the other hand, there is no subject on which specialist students of the Gospels have written at greater length, but there is no unanimity among them on the origin or meaning of the expression. Unlike the disciples, the crowds who gathered to hear Jesus teaching in the temple precincts in Jerusalem in the week preceding his arrest and execution were not accustomed to the use of the self-designation, the Son of Man, by Jesus or by anyone else. When therefore they heard him say that the Son of Man must be lifted up, the equivalent in John's language to Mark's the Son of Man must suffer, they asked, "Who is this Son of Man?" John 12:34. It was a better question than they realized, for the answer to it leads to the heart of the mystery of Jesus' identity. With one significant exception, the phrase, the Son of Man, is found in the New Testament only on Jesus' lips. The Jerusalem crowd's question, "Who is this Son of Man?" is not really an exception because it was simply an echo of Jesus' own words. The significant exception is its use by Stephen, an early Jerusalem Christian, towards the end of his trial before the high priest and his colleagues. "I see the heavens opened," he said, "and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God." That's Acts 7:56. The significance of this exception will appear later. As used by Jesus, the expression the Son of Man is sometimes a general self-designation. At other times it bears a special relation to his earthly ministry or to his coming glory. It was not a form of words which already had associations for his hearers. Many of them would immediately have understood, or would have thought they understood, a reference to the Messiah. They would have supposed that the great king of the future, the descendant of David, was meant. For this very reason, perhaps, Jesus did not go around claiming to be the Messiah. Even when Peter made his confession at Caesarea Philippi, the disciples were strictly forbidden to tell anyone that Jesus was the Messiah. But the Son of Man was not a title in general currency. Jesus could use it without fear of being misunderstood. When he said it as a general self-designation, it was, or rather when he used it as a general self-designation, it was practically equivalent to the pronoun I. On one occasion, he contrasted himself with the ascetic John the Baptist, who came eating no bread and drinking no wine, and said, "The Son of Man has come eating and drinking." It is difficult to see any difference in meaning between that last statement and "I have come eating and drinking." The evangelists themselves sometimes appear to treat the Son of Man and "I" on Jesus' lips as interchangeable. For example, Mark says that Jesus asked his disciples at Caesarea Philippi, "Who do the people say I am?" Whereas Matthew phrases his question, "Who do the people say the Son of Man is?" Jesus normally spoke in Aramaic, and in that language, the expression meaning a man is literally a son of man. So, in the ears of Aramaic speakers, the Son of Man might be taken to mean simply the man. If the evangelists, who reported Jesus' words in Greek, preserved the un-Greek phrase, the Son of Man, instead of translating it as the man, it was probably because they recognized that there was something distinctive in his use of it. It is unlikely that Jesus simply used the expression, as some speakers today use the indefinite pronoun one in order to avoid the personal I. It has been held that in Aramaic the expression could have the more definite force of this man, meaning I myself, and sometimes indeed this may be its force when used by Jesus, as when he said that the Son of Man has come eating and drinking. At other times it has been suggested the expression means man in general, man as opposed to God on the one hand, or to the beasts on the other hand. Why, for example, did Jesus say that it is more pardonable to speak against the Son of Man than to speak against the Holy Spirit? Possibly in the original form of the saying, a contrast was being made between the venial sin of speaking against man or human beings in general, and the eternal sin of speaking against the Spirit of God. Some have thought they detected an instance of this kind in the place where the Son of Man, in contrast to the foxes and the birds, is said to have nowhere to lay his head. But this is improbable. It is not true that human beings are distinguished from the wild animals in having no home of their own. Here, certainly, Jesus was applying the term the Son of Man to himself in relation to his earthly ministry, during which he had no fixed abode and was as likely to spend the night on a hillside under the stars as in a bed under a roof. In Mark's record, most of the Son of Man sayings of Jesus come after the Caesarea Philippi incident, but there are two important ones which come earlier. The first of these occurs in the story of Jesus healing the paralyzed man who was let down through the roof of a house in Capernaum. Before healing his paralysis, Jesus assured him that his sins were forgiven. And when some of those present were scandalized at his doing so, he declared that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. Plainly, he was exercising this authority in his own person. But when he claimed to exercise it as the Son of Man, the phrase may mean something like the representative man. Matthew evidently understood his words in this sense, for in his account of the incident he says that the crowds glorified God who had given such authority to human beings. That's Matthew 9:8. Human beings, or men, being an instance of what grammarians called the generalizing plural. The idea behind this use of the phrase Son of Man is similar to what Paul had in mind when he spoke of Jesus as the last Adam, or the second man. That's 1 Corinthians 15:45 and 47. The first Adam bore a name which means mankind because he was the representative man. This role has been taken over and raised to a new dimension by Jesus. The forgiveness of sins is a prerogative of God, and he has been pleased to share it with the Son of Man. The phrase again appears, and to much the same effect, in the report of an early Sabbath controversy, when fault was found with Jesus' disciples because they plucked ears of grain as they walked through the fields on a Sabbath day and rubbed them in their hands to extract the kernel. The point of the complaint was that they were technically performing two kinds of work that were forbidden on the Sabbath, plucking being a form of reaping and rubbing being a form of grinding. But Jesus replied that the Sabbath was not ordained for the inconvenience of human beings, but for their convenience. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath, Mark 2:27-28. If the Sabbath was made for man, then it is as the representative man that Jesus disposes of the sacred day with such sovereign authority. He acts and speaks as the one whom God has appointed to be spokesman and sponsor of the race, for whose benefit the Sabbath rest was instituted. Now other options when it comes to the expression the Son of Man next time. I'll put in a link here to J.C. Ryle's discussion of the three outrageous sayings that Christ uttered in one chapter, that is Matthew chapter 12. I'll also put in a link to the whole Matthew playlist, which is made up largely of the J.C. Ryle exposition of Matthew, which we sure recommend to everybody out there as a basic book on the Gospels. See you next time.